What is up, YouTube? It is Docky Style Gaming, or DSG, and we are back at it again with another Anthem video for you all today. And on today's video, we are doing a complete breakdown on the full gameplay trailer that was shown off. Some of these are going to be questions that were, or not questions, these are going to be things that were described and shown off by the developers, both Mark Dara and John Warner. And then some of these are things that were actually shown, but they didn't even go into detail on, that I took my time, watched every scene, every clip, and put together, including the loot drops, the Storm's abilities, different weapons, and everything like that. Now, I'm just going to get straight into the video, and let's start from, I guess, the beginning of the gameplay, and we'll just work our way through. So, at the beginning of the video, we see our crew right now, which you're probably looking at on screen. So, our crew is Halleck, which is the main shirtless guy right there. There's Faye, who is a cipher, and then there's also Owen, who is another one of our ciphers. They said that they are the pit crew in the Strider. Halleck is our driver. And even some of the dialogue in the trailer, you kind of hear Owen asking who gets to be the cipher for this mission. And Faye was like, it's all yours if you want it, pretty much. So he seems pretty eager to be the cipher for our mission. And they pretty much said that the ciphers kind of act as our companions on the field. Think of like an Ortis from Warframe, a Ghost from Destiny, something like that. They said they gave us our info, and they kind of ride shotgun with you in the back of our heads, and they kind of supplement us for our eyes and ears of the missions in the game. So the fact that Faye is also a cipher means that for some missions we will have a female companion talking, whereas others will have Owen being the other one in that instance. I kind of covered that before, but they kind of just went into a lot more detail on that. It doesn't appear that Halleck's going to be a cipher, though. They said he's just pretty much the Strider's driver. So that's that. Now for the menu, which we kind of seen right there, I'll go back and put some clips in. But for the menu, we get to see a bunch of different, I guess, screens on it. We see the summary, which has our objectives, and the difficulty, which the objectives pretty much shows us the map. The difficulty we see is set on normal. And then, it, of course, gives you the option to start your mission. One of the other screens is the squad screen, which shows us our team, who we can invite, and then also when we invite, it shows our friends and our recommended. And then the last one they didn't go into detail at all or even go to, which is consumables, as we see. And it says there's 3 empty slots, meaning those slots will be filled for us to go in game, and those will be some form of consumables, whether it be something we craft or something we get in game. So it could be either health packs, something for energy, who knows at this moment, but there is another slot in the menu called consumables that they didn't really go into. Now, let's go back a little bit to the map. Now, on the map, they showed a bunch of different icons on the map, and though they didn't go into too many of them, we kind of know what most of them are by different things that they've kind of said in the mission itself. Now, the skulls on there appear to be event bosses in the game. There's these little arc/door areas that I'll highlight for you right there, that are apparently going to be the fast travel locations. One's called Eastern Gate, another one's called Eastern Reach. And then there's the upside down triangles that are clearly the strongholds, because you see that's the one that they click on, and that's the mission that they're playing in this gameplay, which is a stronghold. And then the Anthem icon, which are the 3 triangles, appear to be our story missions in game. And then there's also an unknown icon, which is a pyramid. I don't know if that is the Fort Tarsis, or if that's going to be just another hub location. Who knows at the moment, but it seems like that might be where Fort Tarsis is, but I feel like it would say Fort Tarsis on there, so I'm not sure what that pyramid icon at the bottom is, but there is that. Now, some of the locations that I thought were cool to take note of on the map, one was the Academy Ruins, the Great Falls Canyon, then, as I mentioned, the Eastern Gate and Eastern Reach, which appear to be fast travel locations, and then High Road, and then the most interesting one is Fortress of Dawn. And as we know in the lore, the freelancers were a part of an organization or a group called the Legion of Dawn before breaking off into 3 different factions: the Sentinels, freelancers, and then our main antagonists, the Dominions. So I thought that was a pretty cool location spot on the map that was shown. Again, I don't know if they meant to show it off, but like I said, I broke down almost every little bit of information I could find in this video. Now, the next thing they talked about, once they clearly selected their mission, which was, like I said, that upside down looking triangle icon, which turned out to be strongholds. They said they kind of gave us a bit of clarification on strongholds. Like, yes, strongholds are in-game activities, and they said they're meant to be challenging, but not too hard. They said it's not meant for you to have too much coordination with your team, and you can kind of just hop in and play at a decent pace. And there's different objectives that are marked, so it's pretty easy for you to find, go around, and kind of discover things in the game itself. So that's what strongholds are. Like I said, that's just one of the in-game activities. We know there's going to be raids in it as well, but it definitely doesn't seem like strongholds are going to be the hardest and most challenging in-game activity in the game at the moment. Now, let's go on to loot, and this is something that they didn't even cover at all, but I scoured through again and was just looking at all the different loot, the icons, everything. So let's talk about a bit of the loot and the drops in the game. So we see one of the drops are green ammo packs. Now, originally I thought there was green and white ones, but as I watched the video again, they all appear to be green, and they appear to go for both ammo slots for your primary and your secondary ammo. So that's one of the drops. Another one of the drops we saw were the red hearts. They're kind of like segmented into 3 parts, but there's the red hearts, and those are clearly going to be your health pickups. And then one that they did show, it was a purple either diamond or pyramid drop, but think of it like an engram from Destiny. When he picked it up, it said epic weapon, and it showed a pistol, which is interesting because, as I mentioned and as they've mentioned, Colossuses can't use pistols. So, I mean, they said you'll be able to get drops for other characters, but they did say there would be a gear bias for your character. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But that was one of the drops when he killed an enemy. I'll show a clip of that right now. When he killed an enemy, it dropped a purple orb. It rolled down. He picked it up, and it said epic weapon, and it showed an image of a pistol. Now, a little further down, they start running, and you see the second Colossus ground pound, which this is another thing I thought was interesting, because I know in some games you have to always shoot enemies to get some of the loot, or else it doesn't count as you killing it. Well, the second Colossus ground pounds the enemies, and loot just falls out. One of them was a purple engram, but then if you look closely at the corner on the right hand side, a gold engram drops. Now, we know gold engrams are legendaries, and that's what was shown off at the very first E3 gameplay, which was the Jara's Wrath, which was picked up, which was a legendary item. And they said there's 6 different rarities. Legendary is the second highest, and then epic is right before legendary. And they said the last one, again, they said they're still working on the name, but it might be called Masterworks. But gold, I mean, I don't know if this is just for test footage, but I mean, a gold engram dropped just by a teammate killing a group of enemies. So I thought that was pretty cool. And again, that was something they didn't mention or even point out about none of the loot drops, or just even drops in general, whether it be for the ammo or the health. I guess it's kind of self-explanatory, but I thought that was something that they probably should have covered that they didn't really cover. So yeah, so we got our green ammo, which is our secondary and primary ammo drops. We have our red heart-shaped diamond looking designs, which are our health orbs, and then we have our purple diamonds or pyramids. Like I said, I couldn't really tell what the shapes were. They kind of looked like diamonds, but the purple diamonds are for your epic weapons, or epic drops, I should say. And then the gold diamonds are clearly going to be your legendary drops. Nobody knows the colors for the other ones at the moment. They may be blue, green, something like that. But that's what those are. Now, talking a bit more about, as we go further along through the gameplay, we see them flying, going underwater. Now, as you see when they're underwater, I've mentioned this before, they did say that you won't be able to stay underwater forever because you will run out of air. And in the stream, they mentioned that it's your breath bar, essentially. They said you will drown if you stay underwater too long, but you can change it via freelancer perks, similar to how you can change your flight system in the game via your freelancer's perks as well. So, now that they're out of the water, you kind of see that it's also nighttime now. And they said there will be a dynamic day-night cycle. I've covered this before. They said it'll last an hour long. They said it's shorter than most games, which again, I'm kind of on the fences about, but they said that it'll last an hour long. Different enemies kind of react to different times of days and different weather. And that pretty much at night, you can kind of see different, I guess, landscape, or I won't say landscapes, the different skybox. That's the best way to put it, because they even mentioned that if you look in the skybox, that he saw 2 moons in the sky. Even though I kind of tried to skim through the videos, I didn't see 2 moons anywhere, unless it was one of them behind the clouds. But I did see 1 crescent moon in the sky. So, I mean, I guess for a bit of lore, there's apparently 2 moons in the world of Anthem. So that's that about the dynamic day-night cycle. Now that they're out of the water, you kind of see them attacking most of these enemies. Now, the enemies that they said that they're fighting right here in the world are called the Scar. I've covered this before too. They said they're your base level humanoid enemies and your primary enemy factions in the game. Now, the Dominion, they went on to say, we're going to be your primary antagonist from a storytelling perspective, and those are humans as well, bent on, you know, pretty much taking over the world using the Anthem of Creation and using Shaper Tech to do so. And they also have their own specific javelins, and I kind of covered in the last video that this so far is a concept image of the Dominion in their javelin suits as well, which one of them looks like a ranger with a cape, and then in the background it appears to be either a Dominion storm. I didn't really cover the background art, but yeah. So that's how the Dominion look in terms of concept art in the game, and that's essentially what we will be getting. Now, also when talking about different enemies and the antagonists, they said they wanted to make the animals feel out of scale with us in the game, whether it be the animals being massive or whether it being making us feel like we're at the bottom of the food chain. So they wanted it to feel like we needed our suits to survive. Even the creature at the very beginning of the trailer, this one right here, which is called a grabbit apparently, they said has really sharp teeth, and if it wanted to, it could kill us or eat us. But they also gave another example as the wolves in the game. They said one was like a 10-foot long wolf that you pretty much wouldn't want to fight. They tried to turn like everyday type creatures into, like I said, creatures that could kill us and that we wouldn't want to be out without a suit with, essentially. Now, further along in the demo, we see them get some lore in the game. Now, once he finds the lore, it was called a ruin, and it said ruin discovered, but John Warner, the game director himself, said it was called an Arcanist resonance. So, I mean, I don't know if that's what the lore is going to be called that you can find, the discoverable lore, but they did say that in free play, that's what most of your time will most likely be spent on, will be discovering lore in the game and finding crafting materials for other items in the game as well. Now, this is a part of the information that I thought was pretty interesting, and again, they didn't really go too much into detail on, but like I said, I was looking at a bunch of the footage, and I myself went into a lot of detail. So these are all the different things shown off for the javelins. Now, I'm gonna start off with the storm, just because I'm most hyped for the storm, and they showed off quite a bit for the storm. Now, the storm, they said, as you see from this clip right here, he has his unique spawn animations, which they said that each javelin will have a unique spawn animation because he spawned in the middle of the mission, which I still think is amazing. But he spawned in the middle of the mission and had a special spawn animation. And then instantly he starts to float off and he starts shooting with his gun, which is pretty cool. They then again went on to say he'll have elemental attacks, of course. And then also when you look at him flying like normal alongside the rest of the javelins, he actually has an effect contrail, kind of think like Fortnite when you're falling out of the bus. But when he flies, he has a special trail that flows behind him, which is pretty cool. Now, they said, of course, he's the glass cannon. He deals heavy damage and heavy status effects, and I'll get a bit more into status effects a little later. But you can also see when he floats, he has an orb around him while he attacks as well. I don't know if that's considered his overshield, and once you shoot through it or shoot enough of it, the shield goes away, or if it's just a mini protective barrier around him while he shoots, because he is, like they said, a glass cannon, meaning he can't take too much damage. So it might just be another defensive thing, or it could purely just be an aesthetic and being an effect, and he just has an orb while flying around his body. Now, onto some of his abilities, which they never really showed off and we didn't get any good looks at. We do in this gameplay, though, even though it's slightly in the background, but I'll try and slow down some of the footage for you all to see. but there's a couple of shots where he's shooting like barrages of electric shocks that kind of track and go to the enemies. We see him shoot some and they fly past the Colossus on screen, and then we also see him shoot the actual I think his name's the Swarm Tyrant, the big spider at the end, is shooting a barrage of them at the Swarm Tyrant as well, these like electric shocks. And then also we see him multiple times throughout the trailer use these massive shock waves at the Swarm Tyrant himself, which I thought was pretty cool. Apparently it seems like the elemental effects loadouts for this storm is going to be is electric. But I thought that was pretty cool, and at least we got to see a bit more of his abilities that we didn't really see in the last gameplay trailer or anything else, pretty much, because they've been being pretty hush-hush in terms of the Storm's gameplay, his abilities, and everything like that. Now, legendary weapons, they did show off the Ranger's, one of his legendary weapons. They said it was a legendary pulse, and as you see in the clip right here, they actually do ricochet shots, and they bounce from enemies to enemies, I guess either until they're dead or until they take enough amount of damage, or maybe it might just hit hit an enemy once each time, whether they're in close enough vicinity. But I did want to point that out because I thought that was pretty cool, and they did mention it in their stream that was one of the legendary pulse rifles for the Ranger. So that was something that I thought was pretty cool. And then also on weapons, they said that there's no moddable melee weapons at launch, but they did say it's something that they can totally see being feasibly doing in the game. Like, so even though it's not at launch, they said that that's something that's completely feasible to do if they wanted to add later in the game, is do modifiable or customizable melee weapons for other javelins in the game. So that's pretty dope. Now, on to the last bit of news, which I don't think I should cover it, but I kind of should, even though most of the gameplay is Colossus. This last bit of information is about the Colossus and some of his gameplay, and even the secondary Colossus. So as we're watching the Colossus, we do see one of the clips right there. We see him using his multi-mortar, and we also see him use it on the boss at the end of the gameplay footage. And then also we can see that you can hover not only with the Storm and do your use your weapons, but we see the Colossus in the background hovering and shooting his flamethrower at the Swarm Tyrant as well. And they also show him use his Flame Mortar, which is another one of his legendary gear attachments, or gear attachments I should say. And they said that the Flame Mortar is great for area denial, it's good for blocking spaces off. We see a swarm of spiders about to start pushing out. He shoots a Flame Mortar down, and it kind of either stun locks them or applies them all with status effects, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, speaking of status effects, they did say applying status effects / comboing is great for doing more damage and more boss damage output. That's how you go from seeing your normal white crit white crit numbers, I should say, to seeing your yellow crit numbers, is by doing combos. So when an enemy is affected by a status effect, whether it be lightning, then a combo, or fire, and then a combo, even at one point you'll see the the Swarm Tyrant completely on fire because he's being affected by a status effect. And then once he's on fire, you'll see nothing but yellow numbers, damage numbers coming out. So I thought that was pretty cool in terms of doing more DPS. They're really heavily going into using the combo system in game to do massive amount of damage. Now, the last bit of information they were talking about were ultimates. They said your ultimates actually charge quite fast in the game, and they wanted you to be able to use them more than once. They said even in this footage, even though they didn't show them off too much, they said if they really wanted to, they could have had the players use their ultimates at least 2 or 3 times before they even got to the final boss itself. So that's pretty cool. And then we also get another shot at seeing the Colossus using his. Now they said they scaled down the damage of it for the gameplay purposes, but essentially they said when you shoot your shots from your Colossus, they said the shots are essentially like you shooting nukes out. So I thought that was pretty cool. And that's pretty much everything that we kind of got in terms of stuff that they showed off for the javelins in game. Again, no new interceptor gameplay, but they did say it's supposed to be coming summer. So, I mean, within a couple weeks, we should be getting at least some new information or details or something in terms of the interceptor. Outside of They did mention that one of the javelins would have a sword in game. But they always say they're not ready to talk about Storm and Interceptor. And clearly, like I said, I watched a lot of the footage. I didn't see the Storm use any sword. And I believe there was a promo image of a red Interceptor that had either a knife or a sword in his hand. So, if anything, the Interceptor most likely would be the one with the sword melee. But that's that. Like I said, that's all I got for you guys today. That's all I pretty much gathered and covered and compiled. It's a little longer than the actual gameplay footage itself, but I did want to try and put all the new gameplay information, the icons, the different drops. I wanted to put that all in a video and compile it, just so everybody can get a sense of how things are going to play out and work. And I did want people to see a bit of the new Storm footage that not too many people were covering. I know I saw a couple, but like I said, me being already expecting to be a Storm main, I should say, I'm really looking forward to more Storm gameplay and footage and stuff like that. But that's all I got for you guys today. I will catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.